Hi everyone, I'm really excited today because I'm going to be showing you how to 3D model some elements for your own diner. You may have already seen on my YouTube channel that I 3D modeled the exterior of a diner as well as the interior and have rendered it out in Redshift. So this tutorial will be giving you a little bit of a glimpse into my process, and I will be teaching you how to 3D model some elements of your own. And I think you'll really enjoy learning how to do some of this yourself. So if you're interested in it, let's jump into Cinema 4D 2023 and let's get going. So I just want to give you a little bit of a rundown of what we'll be doing. I'm going to be showing you how to 3D model some elements for your diner. Or for a diner. These are just good 3D modeling skills no matter what you're creating. We're going to create a couple booths and a table, some ketchup and mustard, an ad to buy a hamburger. I created these menus here that float. They're holograms. And if I press play, you can see that they kind of slowly float up and down throughout the animation, and we'll create some French fries. So let's get into it. I have this blank file here. I'm going to start off with a cube. I'm going to adjust the size. I'm going to make this 3 feet by 2 inches by 5 feet. You can make your table whatever size you'd like. This will be the tabletop. I'm going to add on some fillets by checking this box down here. And we can see that some rounding is happening on the edges, and those are our fillets. We have the subdivision set to 3 right now. I'm going to turn on garage shading with lines, so now you can see our subdivisions. It's subdivided into 3. The fillet radius is rather large. I'm going to take this down to 0.5. And now we have a nice beveled edge for our table. And what is great about that is it allows nice, beautiful light to reflect off of those edges so that we have a beautiful model at the end of this. It looks much better to render something with bevels than something without bevels, so that's something to keep in mind while you're working. Very important to have. I'm going to add some segments here. This will make it easier once we start creating the table leg. And if we have too many, we can always dissolve some of these segments in the future, and I will be showing you how to do that. In order to get out of this perspective view, I'm going to click the middle mouse button and click the middle mouse button again over this viewport here in the upper right. And now we are seeing the top view. I want to switch this view to show the bottom because we're going to be working with the bottom of the table. I've renamed this cube table, and we're going to make it editable. And there's 2 ways to make an object editable for your 3D modeling. You can press the C button to make a primitive such as this cube editable, or you can click this icon right here, and if you forget the hotkey, when you hover over it, it will show. So this is C for editable. I'm going to go into point mode, and that will allow us to edit the points within our table. I'm going to choose the rectangular selection box and make sure that the points that I select are symmetrical on each side of the table. And the reason why I have so many polygons here is because we're going to create a circular shape in the center, and the more polygons will make it easier to have a nicer, more detailed radius that looks less faceted. So if I click Shift C, that'll pull up our command manager, and I can select circle. fit circle, I'm actually going to drag this tool out to add it here. You can add more tools to your layout if you'd like. It's all within your control. So we're going to create a circle, and this tool is available in later versions of Cinema 4D. So if you aren't seeing this, that is why. If you're having trouble pulling up this tool, you can create a table leg a different way, maybe using a cylinder, similar way that we created this cube. But if you have fit circle, you can drag out a circle by clicking here after selecting your points, and you can make it the size you'd like. So this looks good for creating a table leg for us to set our base on. And we've created that both on the top and the bottom, which in this case I'm okay with. But that's the basic start of it. I'm going to go back into perspective view so that it's easier for me to see if I'm selecting the top polygons or bottom polygons, and go into polygon selection mode. And this will allow me to select these polygons in this circle because we need to extrude them into a table leg. So I'm going to go ahead, select these here. And a fun thing to do if you just want to extrude in the normal direction is you can hold down Control, and if you're in the move mode, so you could be in E for moving things like that, R for rotating, can rotate, T for scaling. We are going to be in the E for moving mode, and we're going to hold down Control and pull these polygons out in the normal direction. So now we have a table leg, and you can control how tall you want your table to be. For right now, I'm just going to rough in some of the geometry, and we can scale it to make it more accurate and it dimension-wise later on. But I like to just rough in the shapes at least at the beginning and get the basic form. So now that we have this extruded, I still have these polygons selected. And the next step would be to select M to bring up our modeling tools, and then select W for inset. And we're actually going to do an outer inset, so I'm going to pull these out to make a nice little base for our table. And then I'm going to hold down Control again to extrude. And now we have this lovely base for our table. And if after you do this, you feel that this leg looks too thick or something like that, you can go back into edge selection mode and press U to hold up all the selection options, and you can see all the hotkeys here. We're going to choose L for loop selection and select this loop, select this loop, select T, and we're going to extrude on the axes here. Scale on the axes here, excuse me. And then that way we can make this a little bit of a more elegant leg for our table, a little bit thinner. And I'm going to again select another loop here, and a loop here, and a loop on the bottom. And here, because we want all the edges to have a fillet, this will create those nice reflections when we go to render. I'm going to pull up the fillet or bevel options by pressing MS for bevel. And we'll create some bevels here. You can see that we do not have any subdivisions on this bevel, so it looks like a hard angle. So we're going to add in a couple subdivisions there. And now this is looking much better. Much better. And that is the base of our table for our diner. The next thing we'll need, of course, is some diner booths. And if you're in need for some inspiration, you can simply go into Google and Google diner booth. So I like this one here. The last time I made one that was more similar to this kind of booth, but maybe this time I'll switch it up and make one similar to this or this. And the modeling techniques are the same for both. If you know how to make one, you know how to make them both. They're the same modeling technique. So we're going to make a booth. And the first thing that we're going to need is a symmetry tool. So I'm going to go back into object mode, Shift C, type symmetry. And now we have a symmetry object. We can drop another cube primitive into our symmetry object. You can model almost anything starting with a cube. Just going to adjust some of the sizes here real quick. So that we get this a little bit closer to a better size. For a booth to begin with, I'm going to make sure that the symmetry is going the right direction. So we need it, in my case, to go the ZY direction, and now it is mirroring this cube we've created, which will be the beginning of the booth. I'm going to drop down these cubes. And I may take them in a little bit more. And that's the beginning. I'm going to rename this booth and make this object editable, and we'll go into polygon editing mode, and I'll select this top polygon here. I'm going to extrude it up, and that will be the beginning of our cushion. And I'll press ML to pull up the modeling loop tool as we have done earlier. And again, you can see all of those modeling options by just pressing M. M for modeling. M pulls up all the other hotkeys. You can find them right there. It's handy. And if you hold down Shift, you can snap to quarter increments of your model. So I'm going to create this right here, this loop. So I'll click. And I'm going to extrude this polygon up again, holding Control. It extrudes in the normal direction. And then I'll select edges, select this edge here. And I'll turn on the world coordinate system. And what this will do will let us move this using world coordinates instead of local coordinates, so I can move this edge to the right. And now our seat is nicely tapering. I'm going to go ahead in here and add in another loop to our booth. So I want to add in one right here, and then I will select these polygons And I'll click UF to select this area here while holding Shift so that I've selected everything within there. And I'll choose T for scale, and we're going to scale it with this right here. I accidentally have this still selected, so I'm going to unselect that and try scaling in again right here. So now we have this lovely base, similar to in this image of a diner booth. And what I may end up doing is taking this and moving it out a little bit so that we get that nice angle in there. I'm going to add in some more poly loops to begin shaping this. I'm going to hold down Shift to snap. I'm going to put one in the middle, one here, and one here. And what this will allow us to do is to have this base where we can select these two. Actually, in this case, I'll select a few more, but I'm going to select some of these points here and hold down the T for transform, and we're going to transform in one direction to begin to get that nice diner shape added in, similar to this red booth here. We're making that nice triangular shape there, which will look really cool. And what we need to do is this needs to be rounded. So this looks very rectangular and sharp and uncomfortable to sit on, very pointy. So what we're going to do is create a subdivision surface, and I'm going to put the booth inside of the subdivision surface, and immediately you'll see this became really rounded out. Even maybe you'd say this is too rounded out to sit on and it looks like a really funny diner seat. So we'll have to fix that. You can turn on and off your subdivision surface using the Q hotkey. So that's off, on. And we can begin shaping this using loops. So I'm going to press ML again to create some loops, and we're going to create some edge loops since I'm in edge mode. I'll add a loop down here at the bottom to start shaping it, and I'll add a loop up here to make this a sharper corner. I want this to be a little bit more curved, so I'll make this loop a little bit further away from the edge. But it will also allow us to have a little bit more shape by adding in that loop. I'll add in a loop over here, holding down Shift, and I'll add in another loop over here, holding down Shift, so that both of those loops are symmetrical because I held down Shift and I know where they are. I'm going to add in a loop here and add in a loop right here to make this a little bit of a tighter edge. So now this is starting to shape into what we'd like. I'll tighten this up at the top, and I'll add in this just for good measure. I'm going to go back into polygon mode. This still looks a little bit too rounded to me, so maybe I'll add in more. Well, actually, no, I'll still work with that. Back into polygon mode. I'm going to select both of these, and I'm going to hold down Control to extrude out. Now I'll do the same thing with the center area. So now these look a little bit puffier, which is good. Makes them look comfier to sit on. And it doesn't look like any polygons are intersecting. You'll need to check for that. That's important. It's more important if you're 3D printing. In this case, we aren't 3D printing, but it's just for good craft. You don't really want your polygons intersecting. It's not nice. It doesn't look nice. So just watch out for that. When I look at this, I like this detailing here. You can see that there's this nice little contrasting color in the upholstery, which I think is really cool. So I think we can add that in pretty quickly. I'm going to hold down Shift to add that guy in over there. Hold down Shift to add this in here. I'll add in one more there. And I'll add in one more here. And on both of these, I'm going to select these edge loops because we're going to use them for something. So edge loop, edge loop. Here we go. Control C, I'm going to type in edge to pull up edge to spline. And now we've built ourselves a spline, which will be handy dandy. I'm going to choose B-spline to smooth it out a little bit more. See how that just made it curved? We could try Bezier, but this looks weird. I'm going to stick with a B-spline. And for this B-spline, we're going to create a sweep. So, and here we can find sweep. I'm going to place this spline into the sweep. And we'll need to get ourselves a circle because we're going to sweep a circle along the spline. I'm going to reduce the radius because right now it's a very big circle. Maybe we'll try 0.2. And this is starting to look good. I'm going to delete part of this spline because I don't think we need all of it. So for right now, I'm going to turn these off. I'm going to take this out of here for a moment. So I don't want this contrasting color to go the whole way around. So I'm going to go into here, select edge. Maybe I'll select in here. I'm going to dissolve some points. We don't need this down here. So we're going to get rid of these points. delete, delete, delete. And now I can put the sweep back where it was before, turn it back on, turn back on subdivision surface, and get out of that view. So now it's not going all the way around and it looks much better. And we have our circle sweeping across. This isn't perfectly lining up, so I can actually go in here and edit it so that it lines up nicer on each side. And I think this is looking pretty cool for a diner. So that's the basics on how to 3D model a seat. And I suggest looking at a reference when you do this. I'm going to name the symmetry booth and move it on in the object selection so that we can have these closer to the table. And now for the next step, we're going to create some condiments. I'm going to hit save so that we don't lose everything we just did. Remember to hit save, it's very important, or else you'll be really frustrated, and when Cinema 4D crashes, you lose all of your work. You can even set up autosave where it will save it in increments of time. I'm going to drop in a cylinder for our ketchup. We're going to model some ketchup today, and we're going to shrink this down because this ketchup bottle is huge and we don't need ketchup that ginormous. So we're going to take this down a little bit. This is looking better to me. And again, if you'd like references of ketchup bottles, Google is your friend. We're going to be making this guy here today, but you can make a different kind of ketchup bottle if you'd like. They're very similar modeling techniques, so do what you'd like to do. I'm going to go with a classic ketchup bottle. I don't need these height segments, so we'll save ourselves some geometry in here. And once again, I'm going to make this editable. I'm going to go into polygon selection mode, select these polygons on the top, hit MW for an inset, and hold down Control, pull up to extrude. Inset again, and extrude again. Press T in order to scale in this top part. W to inset again, hold down Control to extrude down. That's our basic ketchup bottle. And what we're going to need to do is to add some fillets so we get some nice highlights on here. So I'll go into edge selection mode, UL to select edge loops in particular, and I'm going to select some of these loops here. This is going a little bit through the table, but we can worry about that later and use the placement tool to fix it. If I click M again, you can see S is for bevel. We're going to bevel, so I'll click S, and we can pull out some nice bevels, and you can see that our subdivision is set to 2, which is good. So that just about works. I'm going to select this and select this and do the same thing. Bevel these out. And there's our ketchup bottle. If you want your ketchup bottle to be perfectly on this table, you can use the dynamic place tool, which is always fun. I'm going to add this in here too. And come out of this command manager. Oops. So here I have that selected. I'm going to improve the accuracy of our collisions with the placement tool. And if I drag this ketchup down, it will collide with our table. And then we know that it's accurately placed on that table. Now I'll turn off placement, dynamic placement, by just clicking somewhere else or on something else. Grab our ketchup, hold down Control, and duplicate it. Now we have mustard. And there you go. This is starting to look like something you can put in a diner if you want. We have ketchup, we have mustard. It's a good day. Now we need a hamburger ad. I'm actually a vegetarian. If you want this, you could have this be like a vegetarian burger, or if you're against eating anything vegetarian, you can have this be made out of real meat. Do whatever you want. Yeah, we're going to make a hamburger. So that's the next step. Oops, I went through the wall. Okay, so there's a couple ways you can make this ad for this hamburger. One way is you can do the typical we make a cube method. We can use the dynamic place it on the table, click away. Go ahead and grab some polygons and click C to make this editable. You can delete the top and the bottom. So now it's, maybe it'd be easier to see if I do this. Now it is hollow in the top and the bottom, like something you could make out of cardboard. And if you wanted to, you could grab some sides, hit MW, preserve groups, and you can make some nice little frames to put some ads on. So that's one way to do it. If you want to create something else, you can delete that guy over there, create another cube, because you can make almost anything your heart desires out of a cube or a sphere or a cylinder. And well, you know what, I'm not going to dynamically place this one. I'm going to solo it by clicking this little I button up here. And I'm going to delete some of the sides and make this editable. I don't need these, and I don't need this. Hit delete, and we can click MB, and that is going to allow us to bridge these edges by clicking and dragging. And again, that is M for modeling tools, B for bridging. And now I can select this edge up here and move it down. And even though that's lined up, I'm going to screw it up and throw it over here so I can show you how to fix it in case if your model gets unaligned and you want your polygon, or you want your points to be on the same plane. So I'm going to select those 2 points there and these 2 points over here, 4 points. We're going to select T for scaling, and we're going to scale holding down Shift so that we snap to increments of percentages. We are going to scale this down to 0%. which actually means these are on the same plane. I'm going to select these 2 points in here, move them in 15 centimeters, move this out to the middle. Maybe I'll make it taller. And now we have a little triangle cardboard guy here for our ad. You can click MW again, scale this or inset this in here, and you can advertise your hamburgers. And something you'll notice is that when polygons are facing outwards, when they're on the exterior, they are orange. When they're on the interior, they are purple. So that's something just important to be aware of while you're modeling, because if you run into errors in the future, it could be because these colors are swapped. So that's just a good thing to be aware of, even if we aren't using that right at this exact moment. I'm going to call this ad for burger. And now we're at a point where we can use the dynamic placement tool to set that on the table, which is always fun. Ever since I added in that button there, it's just so much fun to place things. I'm going to actually move this up a little bit because it'll render out looking nicer. Okay, so that's that part here. Now we need to create some French fries, of course, because that's tons of fun. I think I'm going to scale these down a little bit. And place them right over there. Ketchup, mustard. Now to start making our basket for French fries, I'm going to, of course, use a cube. And we're going to scale it down. To something like this right over here. Now we have that. It's a little bit too tall. We'll take this down to like at least 10, maybe 5. And we'll add on some segments. Put in a subdivision surface. Maybe I won't add in segments that way. Maybe I'll just add in some segments going that way. So this is starting to look a little bit more like a basket. Maybe I'll stretch this up a little bit. So this looks like a neat basket. I'm going to increase the number of subdivisions. And now I'm going to make this editable. So we have this guy here. And I'm going to select some of these polygons from this view because it's easier. So I click the middle mouse button to get over here. I'm going to delete that. Now it's a basket. I'm going to press T to scale. So it's a nice oval shaped basket, which I like. And I'm going to copy and paste this because one of these is going to be that newspaper that goes at the bottom of your French fries. And you might not know what I'm talking about if you're not from the United States, but there's a paper that we have that goes under the French fries and it holds them. I'm going to hide this one for now by pulling up these red dots. Clicking on it makes these red dots, makes it so that you can't see it in your viewport or when you hit render. We aren't rendering yet though, but it's good to know for reference. Now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to hold down this button so that I can go over to atom array, and I'm going to add in an atom array. We're going to throw this basket within an atom array, and initially you may think, wow, this looks crazy, Leah, but we're going to fix it by making this 0.2 centimeter radius. We can probably even make it smaller than that, maybe 0.1. And now you can see we have a nice little French fry basket that we can throw our French fries into. And now we can unhide this guy here, which is our newspaper for our French fries. And I'm going to scale that in a little bit. I'm gonna solo it, go into point mode, and select some of these points here. I'm going to pull them up. Pull these up. Angle them slightly so that they look like newspaper and they're uneven. They just need to look right from our camera angle. So if you zoom in close, it might not look right, but we're artists and we're similar to magicians in that these aren't real French fries, but we're making the illusion that they are. So this doesn't need to look perfect when you look up close, it just needs to look right when you look at it from far away. You just need to be able to fool someone's eye into thinking these are some accurate French fries. I'm going to have these bend a little bit outwards. That's what it's about. So making some more French fry paper. Looking pretty snazzy. So this looks pretty good to me. And by the way, the hotkeys for moving is E, R is for rotation, and T is for scale. So if you want to move these points around in point mode, you need to know those buttons, and that's how you do it. I'm going out of the solo mode. And now is a good time to check, are we intersecting this basket? And we are intersecting this basket, but that is nothing to worry about because we can fix that. as long as if you catch it before you render. So I'm going to pull these guys up so we're no longer intersecting. And now all is good and dandy. Here's our French fry basket. Now we need some French fries for our basket, of course. And we're going to start off with another cube. Just going to make it small to begin with. Get it closer to the correct size. Maybe we'll make these skinny French fries, and now we're going to throw this into a cloner. I want the cloner to be in the same direction as the cube, so I'm going to click Coordinate Manager, Reset Transformation, and then put our cube inside the cloner, rename the cube fry, and the cloner French fries. And we'll need our French fries to be closer. So I'll adjust the offset in between them here. And we're going to add in a lot more French fries. So here we go, French fries galore. And they all look the same, which is not good. So we're going to go under MoGraph Effector, and we're going to add in a random effector. And you'll see something happened. Right now the position of these fries are randomized, which is okay, but they don't need to be randomized that much, so we can adjust these numbers some. And we can also randomize their rotation by clicking this box. We can just do some of this. You can randomize their scale. Not by too much, a little goes a long way. So now we have these French fries, and they're floating, and we need to get them in this basket. I'm going to click off of that. Before you do anything, hit save. Because sometimes I've noticed my computer freezes doing stuff with this dynamic place. So be careful with that. For right now, I'm actually going to say current state to object. And now we got this copy of the French fries, but they're all editable. And we've lost that cloner. I'm going to hide these and turn them off. The old version. We don't need our cloner French fries right now. We just need these ones. We're going to go into dynamic place. We're going to hold down this purple button. Wait, no, we aren't. So you'll notice I was troubleshooting there a little bit. Sometimes this can be a little finicky, and hopefully you saved so that things don't crash. You'll notice that my cloner fries are colliding with the placement tool, but they're colliding as a group, even though I put this into object mode, which is annoying. So what are we going to do about that? Instead of clicking this, we're going to click on the individual French fries. And I'm going to save again, which is Control S. And we're going to try this again, very slowly, hoping my computer doesn't crash. And now we have French fries falling into our basket, which is also very, 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 very exciting. There you go, French fries. They're in the basket. They're also all over the table. And I didn't mean to get them all over the table, and that's okay. We've just made a little bit of a mess. So I mean, if you want to clean these up, throw them in the basket. Clean up your French fries. So this is fun. This wasn't really like an option in Cinema 4D until I believe R24, where you can just kind of place things around and throw them in baskets. It's really fun though. I think we're going to need more French fries to fill this basket, but your computer does have an easier time calculating a few French fries at a time. So if your computer's running slow, just use one French fry at a time. It'll be okay. So I guess this is a a great way to practice cleaning up your messes with dynamics if you like to. Okay. I find this super fun, by the way. I used to have a job where I'd place fruits and vegetables on shelves, and I did it in 3ds Max, and I don't know if they have this tool now in 3ds Max, but they didn't while I was setting all these vegetables and fruit on shelves, and it was a ton of work. It took a long time to align everything perfectly so that it wasn't intersecting. And now, Cinema 4D. Look at how easy that was. It's insane. I'm going to move these. I duplicated it and I moved it, and I'm going to turn on dynamic place. And I'm going to place these French fries on top of the other French fries. Look at how amazing that is. This is so fun. And you might be like, Leah, why are you so excited about this? Well, you have to understand, I started 3D modeling before this was a tool or even an option. And before you just had to struggle. And I spent hours placing things on shelves in 3D, and if I just had this as an option, my life would have been so much easier. I don't want the scene to look too perfect, so I'm actually going to just like make a mess and leave some French fries on the table. So there we go. And that is how you make French fries in a basket. Tons of fun. You can set up your table however you want. If you want to add in a menu, you can. You can do that by adding in a plane, or you can do that again with another cube, which is always fun. You can see that my menu in here, that's a hologram. It's just a plane. Real easy. And I added some luminance to it so that it glows. You can do whatever you'd like. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please help me out by giving me a like or hitting the subscribe button. I always appreciate it. I hope you found it helpful. And if you have any questions for me, feel free to type them up and put them in the comments below. And I'll see you next time.